this morning is Bill Brodie Good, the CEO of Power Arabia. Bill, good to be speaking. How are things?
Yeah, good morning. No, they're great. Other than obviously the damp weather in our glorious nation.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you can't do much about that, unfortunately. But well, today we want to catch up on the results from, of course, the company's maiden reconnaissance diamond drilling program at the Block 8 in Oman. So that was completed about a month or so ago here. So you've drilled, what was it, 8 holes, about 724 meters. You've been targeting areas based on geology, geophysics, and of course prior trenching. And there was a nice image that was included on the RNS there. I just want to bring that in now. So just talk us through this sort of maiden drilling program, what its main objective was, and how you sort of targeted the areas relative to that mag we're looking at now.
Well, yeah, and thanks for the introduction, the opportunity to go through this and discuss a little bit the project. So, based on both historical work done by previous explorers on the Block 8 area, and specifically this particular sort of prospect, Al Mansur, its majority of the ground is covered, so it's sort of a blind target in sort of more technical terms. So what we did, we weren't really able to test on much on the ground, so we did a ground gravity survey, which, as you see from the imagery, has produced 2 very strong anomalies. Now they are linked with some earlier trenching we did to the southern end. If you see the bottom sort of section of the image around those sort of cluster of drill holes, we did some early trenching there with some good response. Several meters running mineralized copper. So we, based on this information, we felt it was important to do some sort of drilling. Drilling is key in the exploration world. It's obviously you have to be as comfortable in terms of your target before you start. It's the most costly part at these initial phases. So we planned an initial target to try and define right across this target. Now you can see the target. It's quite hard to see the scale, but relative, it's over 1,200 meters long from sort of south to north. However, that doesn't mean it doesn't go further, both south and north. So we put together a sort of a grid drill program, commenced that. We slightly limited on budget and time, unfortunately, which is always, as an explorationist, is always the challenge. So we were highly encouraged by the results. Really pleased, actually. Indeed, we altered the drill program as we went, because as we were seeing physical core, the geology coming out of the ground, we felt more important to, rather than stick to our planned grid, to adjust some of the drilling to better identify what we were seeing in the early holes, especially hole 1. Was highly exciting, and therefore the final plan is slightly different to the initial one. So we're at that point now where we're highly encouraged by the results, by the geology, the mineralization, the alteration we've seen, based on the quite limited number of meters and holes and time we had.
So what is it that's encouraging you the most? Because looking at the mag here, so that identifies areas where there is something that you can go and look at. And of course, the results coming back, you have got over 1% copper on one of the results there, and the rest of the results coming in circa sort of 3.5, 3.6% copper. Also some zinc there as well. And of course, there's also the understanding of the geology and the rocks down there. So is all of this coming together to say, yes, there is something here, it's worthy of further investigation? Is it safe to say you've got a discovery yet? Just try and paint for us, if you can, what this is saying.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think, myself and the team, we're sort of chomping at the bit, dare I say, to get back in there. To obviously, there's more core to sample. We only managed to sample about 150 meters. Obviously, we had to prioritize. But what we feel and what we've seen, we feel is we're at the edge of, we're either on the roof structure of a significant ore body below, or potentially to the west. This is all will have to come out as we do a next phase of drilling. You've got this, it looks like an outer zone of a mineralized, of some sort of ore deposit. We've got the copper. It's not in those, you referenced the sort of 1.5 meters at just over 1% copper. So we know there's copper there. We've seen copper in, obviously, the trenches, the very few where there's exposure at surface, as well as some, anomalous copper results through quite large sections of these drill holes in the southern area. However, we still haven't tested the northern hole, which looked geologically really interesting and potentially, again, as an interpretation, being on the edge of a more significant and potentially mineralized system further along the north.
Okay.
So look, what we're seeing, the brecciation, a lot of sulfides, both disseminated in veins and in some places quite massive, are highly encouraging. And to be honest, we're really, from the minimal amount of drilling we were able to do and the shallow depth we only really were able to achieve, we feel we're onto something significant. And obviously we need to follow up and do more drilling.
So, I mean, what would a follow-up look like if we look at this picture here? This is, of course, of the drill core, isn't it? So we're seeing the mineralization at depth there, but as you say, it's not actually that deep. So does it mean going further down? Does it mean sort of reorientating drill bits? You talked about drilling the northern hole as well. What could sort of follow-up look like here with the objective to, what would be the objective as well?
So, I mean, there'll be a combination. That's hole 1 and 2. So that's sort of the initial southern drill fence line we planned and drilled. And from the vision, don't forget, we only had visual interpretation while we were drilling. We didn't have the luxury of having assays in hand to then plan the next hole. But based on that, we definitely put a hole obviously behind, so to the west of hole 1. So on the as I look at the screen on the left-hand side, obviously need to go deeper, but more importantly, to where holes 3, 6, and 8 were drilled to the south of these holes and had significant alteration zones, breccia zones. That is an area, obviously, we need to step back and infill and do more drilling. I mean, there's both with depth and understanding the orientations. Now, unfortunately, we weren't able to orientate the core. Therefore, we don't at this point have a clear focus on the real where that specific mineralization in hole 1 potentially where it comes from. Okay. But there's plenty of opportunity. I think a more a larger program with capacity to go deeper, both on this area and, as I say, to follow up with some of the core we still have, to do some more sampling, to interpret what we're seeing physically in the geology with now the results we have on those intersections, all starts building that next picture. And don't forget, this is just one prospect on the Block 8 project, and it's just the most advanced at this point.
Okay. And the RNS talks about the geology aligning with Cyprus-type volcanogenic massive sulfide deposits, which are typically copper-rich with pyrite-dominated sulfides and alteration zones. So is that Cyprus literally is in the country, which is, of course, known for its copper? Is that what it means? Or just explain that?
I assume, apologize for my ignorance, I assume that the Cyprus-type model came from specifically discoveries and work in VMS deposits in Cyprus. Yeah. But it is used now sort of as a different type of model for specifically volcanic massive sulfide deposits, such as the one we believe we've got here, but within these ophiolite sequences. So an ophiolite being a particular crustal rock sequence that is prevalent in this belt of Oman, and fairly unique. There aren't many locations in the globe where this type of crustal rocks are found. So the Cyprus model fits extremely well with what we're seeing, what we've seen, and in terms of the geological units and belt that Al Mansour and Block 8 sit inside.
Okay. So just finally then, Bill, this was, you've referred to it as the maiden reconnaissance. So is it fair to say that getting these sort of copper results in a reconnaissance program is a really good, promising first sign? What would further success look like on this project?
Look, it is a good sign. I mean, drilling, you have to drill, as I said, when you get to a point, you have to drill to test especially in an area such as this, where the majority of it is covered. So you can't really do any more. We looked at options to do some sort of near surface trenching, but you'd have to dig so deep. It's just not effective process.
Okay.
So look, as a reconnaissance, it's a very big target. I mean, it's 1,200 meters plus in length. We've only really, dare I say, touched the edges. But with the work we've done and what we've seen in terms of these, the rock types, the mineralization, the alteration we're seeing, we're super confident that actually we are at the edge of, and we've found the roof or the contact or the periphery of a main copper ore body. Dare I say economic? I shouldn't say that really, but from a development point of view. So really highly encouraged by the work. Obviously frustrated. It would be nice to have lots more copper grades, but more importantly, I think for what we did in the time frame, really building the model and going back is key to now being able to have a program a few thousand meters capable of drilling deeper and really then finding and defining the extent of both the southern area, but following up on the northern and even the central area on that target. So look, lots to be done, but we're highly confident and highly excited that it's very much worth doing as well, the next phase.
Good. Well, just finally on the next phase and getting back to it, any thoughts on that so far? Would it be early next year?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we, with the break coming and now just getting these results processed and final review, we need to get back on the ground. We need to, as I said, review the core that we've still got to look at and ideally do some additional sampling, as well as I say, integrating the results with the geology we're seeing. So to really help pin down more specific target locations, and then ideally pushing forward with the next drill plan. We've got permitting in place to do more drilling. The team is, as I say, chomping at the bit. Prime field season in Oman at the moment. It's lovely winter down there. Perfect climate for working on the ground. So yeah, we're working hard to get back out there. Ideally, in the next month or so, early in the new year, to push ahead.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Bill Brodie Good, the CEO of Power Arabia, for your time today.
No, thanks for your time.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.